Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into the ideas from a really thought-provoking book, The Coddling of the American Mind. The authors, Greg Lukianoff and Jonathan Haidt, are trying to figure something out that a lot of us are wondering about. Why does it feel like our obsession with safety is actually making young people, well, less prepared for the world? Let's get into it.
So right out of the gate, the book hits you with this huge and honestly pretty alarming question. It's a puzzle that, parents, teachers, and young people themselves are all struggling with. The authors are asking, what on earth is causing this massive spike in mental health issues for what they call iGen, the generation born after 1995?
And this simple but really powerful piece of folk wisdom? This is basically the lens for the entire book. What the authors are getting at is this. In our attempt to protect kids, which is a good thing, of course, we might have started doing the opposite of what this quote says. We're trying to clear every single obstacle from their path instead of teaching them how to navigate a bumpy road on their own.
Okay, so let's just start with the problem itself. And to be clear, the authors aren't just talking about a vague feeling that things are worse. They're pointing to some pretty stark data that shows a generation in real, measurable distress.
Okay, so what's really fascinating here is the timing of all this. The authors pinpoint the years around 2013 as this major inflection point. As you can see, the rates of anxiety, depression, and sadly even suicide among teens and college students just started shooting up. This wasn't some slow, gradual climb. It was like falling off a cliff. And figuring out why? Well, that's the whole mission of the book.
All right, so what's their big theory? What's behind this crisis? They argue that it comes down to three really powerful but deeply flawed ideas that have just spread everywhere in our culture, especially in how we raise our kids. They boil it down to what they call the three great untruths.
The first untruth pretty much flips a classic piece of wisdom completely on its head. Instead of believing that challenges make us stronger, this new idea teaches that we're fragile, almost like glass, and that bad experiences are just going to break us. The authors bring in this awesome counter idea called anti-fragility. Anti-fragile things don't just survive stress, they actually get stronger from it. Think about it, like your immune system, or even your muscles when you work out. They get stronger from being challenged.
Okay, untruth number 2. Always trust your feelings. Meaning, if you feel something, it must be true. If you feel unsafe, you are unsafe. If you feel offended, you have been wronged. But as we've known for centuries, and it's something that, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is all about teaching, our feelings can totally mislead us. They can be distorted, and learning to step back and question them is a super important life skill. And that brings us to the third big one. This idea that life is just this simple fight between good people, that's us of course, and evil people, that's them. This kind of black and white thinking just completely shuts down any real conversation or empathy. If you think the other side is not just wrong, but evil, how can you possibly find common ground? This quote from Van Jones, which the authors highlight, man, it just nails the whole idea of anti-fragility. He's saying that life, and especially places like college, shouldn't be about being shielded from ideas you don't like. It's supposed to be like a gym for your mind, a place where you get stronger by lifting heavy intellectual weights, not by avoiding them. So you might be asking, how did these ideas get so popular? The authors point to this huge cultural shift they call safetyism, where this idea of safety has just exploded. It's expanded way beyond physical safety to include emotional and ideological safety too. This is a perfect example of what they call concept creep. Let's just take the word trauma. Back in the 80s, you can see it meant something really specific and severe, an event that would be horrible for pretty much anyone. But over time, that definition is stretched and expanded. It's become more subjective, and now it's used for a way broader range of experiences. And the author's point is, this starts to treat the normal, everyday bumps and bruises of life like a clinical condition. And you can see this culture of safetyism pop up in some really concrete ways, especially on college campuses. The book talks about this incident at Brown University where a safe space was set up with things like coloring books and puppy videos for students who are upset by a debate happening on campus. The whole goal shifted, right? It went from engaging with tough ideas to being insulated from them. Okay, so if the three untruths are the what, and safetyism is the how, then what's the why? Where did all this come from? The authors are clear that it's not just one thing. They say it's more like a perfect storm, where 6 big trends in society all came together at the same time.
So here are the 6 threads they weave together. You've got intense political polarization, which fuels that us versus them thinking. Then there's the general rise in anxiety, making everyone more sensitive to perceived threats. You also have the rise of paranoid parenting. Then there's the huge decline in unsupervised play, where kids used to learn how to solve their own problems. Add to that the growth of university bureaucracies built around safety. And finally, a big shift in the way we think about the quest for social justice.
So on that last point, the quest for justice, the authors draw this really important distinction. They talk about common humanity identity politics, think Martin Luther King Jr., which is all about appealing to our shared humanity to bring people together. But then there's common enemy identity politics, which tends to unite a group by focusing on a shared opponent, emphasizing conflict. And the authors argue that this second version, well, that's what's become way more common on campus today.
All right, so after all that diagnosis, the book doesn't just leave you there. It actually shifts into, okay, so what do we do about it? This isn't just a downer of a book, it's meant to be a roadmap for how we can start to turn things around.
So what's the game plan? The authors give some really practical advice. Things like, fighting the urge to overprotect kids, actually teaching them the basics of CBT so they can challenge their own negative thoughts, limiting screen time to get more real face-to-face interaction, promoting the idea that, hey, maybe you're wrong sometimes. That's intellectual humility. And a huge one, bringing back free, unstructured play.
When you boil it all down, all of this advice points to one big goal. It isn't about just making kids tougher. It's about raising kids who are wise, resilient, and can think for themselves so they can become confident adults who can handle a world that, let's face it, isn't always going to be comfortable or easy.
And that, of course, brings us right back to where we started, with this incredibly simple but really profound idea. It really leaves you with a final question to chew on. Are we so busy trying to build a smoother road for our kids that we're forgetting to build stronger kids for the road? And is a perfectly smooth road even possible? The book suggests the answer to that question could shape the entire future for the next generation.